everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Globe Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Hello, how are we doing? Today is a big day. It's an important day. We have an important topic, but we're also going to be talking about my book. And it is not even 9 a.m., is it? Yeah, not even 9 a.m. right now. I decided to film this episode really early in the morning because the sun is out and I wanted to be in good vibes. And lately I've been a little bit stressed and I don't want to be stressed anymore. I decided that I was going to wake up today and today was going to be a good day. Now, I have had a very lengthy, long unhealthy relationship, I should say, with food for many years of my life. I no longer have that relationship with food anymore. And I've talked about that many times throughout all of my episodes. I think it ties in heavily with just the pursuit of glowing up into the best version of yourself. I feel like a lot of most women struggle with having a relationship with food, relationship towards fitness and wellness, a relationship towards themselves, sometimes even struggle with relationships towards men. And I have created this podcast to really help you guys go through that journey, that pursuit of glowing up into the best version of yourself based off of what I have gone through in my life. At around 16 years old, I decided that I wanted to start this glow up journey. I wanted to work on myself. I wanted to change my appearance, my body. I wanted to be fit for summer. I wanted the boys to like me. I wanted to wear all of the clothes that all of the Tumblr girls would wear. I wanted to become somebody that I was not. And on one hand, it's not an uncommon thing to want that, especially when you're going through your teenage years. You want to kind of glow up, right? You want to change and evolve. The rise of social media never really helps, but in general, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world to want to evolve and change. But a lot of the times, and what I was doing was changing from the place of looking at myself in the mirror and saying, I am not good enough. I absolutely rejected myself. I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I nitpicked on everything. I was such a harsh critic on myself. I just didn't love myself at all. So I went on this journey to essentially like myself more. I thought if I changed my body, if people liked me more, if I got to fit into those Hollister short jeans, those high-waisted jeans, if I looked like that Tumblr girl, then I would like myself more. And so I went on this journey. I decided to start dieting. I decided to start working out. I decided to immerse myself with these picture perfect photos of someone that I thought that I could be or that I really wanted to be. I was just so hyper obsessed about being this person that I was currently not. But in that process, I lost myself. And I feel like, and not me already getting emotional. Okay, sorry, I needed to take a second because I am already getting emotional, it's fine. And honestly, I understand why I'm getting so emotional right now because like you think about your young self and you realize like you just so desperately wanted to love yourself. You so desperately wanted to fit in. You so desperately wanted to just be a better version of yourself. And then you lose yourself in that process. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up getting into these insane, unhealthy cycles of fitness and dieting. I was way too strict on myself. I ended up having a really unhealthy relationship with food, which I never had before I wanted to go on this journey of, changing myself. On one hand, you think that, dieting and working out and going on this wellness journey is going to be this great thing for yourself. Or maybe you want to go on a healing journey because you have gut health issues or whatever it is. But sometimes you go too far. And the problem that I was facing that I didn't realize that I was facing when I was younger was I was trying to fix an internal problem by using external things like fitness and health, dieting, changing my appearance, being the popular girl, when realistically there was a emptiness within my heart, my soul, that dieting, changing my body, getting attention wasn't really going to fill that hole. And I was running away from that hole because it felt uncomfortable. I didn't love the fact that I felt empty and alone and sad. I felt like that all throughout my childhood, and I was running away from that feeling. And I was trying to use external things to kind of, fill again that hole, that loneliness that I was feeling. But what I really needed was to come back to that deep emptiness and to be there with my inner child, because my inner child was in that hole. And what she needed was not a diet. She did not need external validation from people who realistically didn't actually care about her. She did not need dopamine kicks from likes on Instagram. Those were not going to be the things that were actually going to make her feel loved and secure. What my inner child really needed was things that she did not get in childhood. She needed her needs met. She needed emotional support. She needed love. She needed understanding. She needed time, patience. She needed to learn how to regulate her emotions when she did feel sadness or loneliness or abandonment or confusion or anger or sadness, anything. She did not learn how to regulate her emotions. She didn't know how to feel safe in an environment where she was very unsafe. But I didn't realize at the time when I was a teen going into even my early 20s that I still had this inner child, this part of me that was just desperately needing me to listen, to come home back to her. But instead, I was running away from her. I was picking up all of these modalities, these external validations, these things outside of me to try and fill that hole when really I just needed to listen. I just needed to come home to myself. And the more times I spent looking for external validation, using fitness and health as a way to fix my feeling of emptiness and loneliness and sadness that I was carrying with me, I ended up getting into unhealthy patterns and cycles. This is where I can bring in the word self-sabotage. I would start things, I would stop things. I would go super hard, all or nothing at the gym, dieting, counting my calories, counting macros, jumping from one diet to another, and then binge eating because I couldn't keep up with it because it was way too hard. I got into these cycles, which then just fueled more self-hate and more rejection from my own self, to the point where I had no consistency when it came to healthy behaviors. I literally did not know how to eat. I was consumed by food all the time. I didn't have a healthy social life because I had an unhealthy relationship to my body and my body image and the way that I was eating. I was a control freak. I was always ruminating. I was always in my head. I was unhealthy. I just was unhealthy in every aspect. And after many years of facing the reality that I did not have a healthy relationship with food, I also started getting very sick. I had ulcerative colitis. I ended up having nerve pain in my hands. I had a lot of health issues because, quite frankly, I was not healthy. I would go into bouts of depression. I would start diets. I would hyper obsess over my body. I would not live my life until I thought that my body looked nice. I would always be on this edge of like waiting to live my life. And once I get this body or this look or this whatever it was always this energy of waiting, holding myself back, not feeling like I was good enough to live my life, not thinking I was good enough to have a relationship because I didn't look a certain way or I wasn't the picture perfect version of myself. And sometimes, unfortunately, life will hit you really hard to the point where you have no other option but to hit a rock bottom. And that's when change really occurs. And my rock bottom was a few things. It was my health issues, my nerve pain, my colitis, my realization that I had a really unhealthy relationship with food, but also learning how to navigate dealing with a parent who was an addict. On top of that, being someone who had already lost their father, and on top of that, being in a really not healthy financial place. I was stressed in every area of my life. My health, my fitnesses, my family, my everything was a mess. And I hit rock bottom. But one thing about me is there in my mind is no other option but to move forward, even when I cannot see light. And in my life, when I was in my early 20s and I was in this rock bottom, I realized I had to rebuild everything. I had to rebuild the relationship that I had towards food, towards fitness and wellness, towards my body image and how I look at myself. I had to rebuild the inner dialogue that was going on in my head from this self-hating, rejecting place. I had to learn how to let go and move on from a parent in which I wasn't able to have a certain experience with around that age because she was going through her addictions. I had to let out all the anger and the frustration and the hatred towards my father for really making me feel like I had this inner child that was always trapped and alone and abandoned by him, even when he was alive. And I also needed to learn how to forgive myself for all of the quote unquote mistakes that I was making in my life based out of survival mode. I had to do that all. And once I started to address those areas of my life, that is when the true glow up began. That is when I finally became the woman that in my teenage mind I wanted to be. But I didn't realize the way that I was going to be that girl was not through the modalities that I tried to do, like fad dieting and hating myself until I had this goal or getting external validation. What I had to do to glow up into the best version of myself was to come back home to myself and heal. And that is what my book is about. I take you through a process in which 16 years old, my story, the cycles that I went through, all the lessons, all the realizations that came out of the constant cycle and battle with myself, and the things that I learned to actually heal and finally glow up into the best version of myself. In my healing journey, I learned why I was sabotaging certain healthy behaviors and how to stop. I learned why I was being such a tyrant on myself and where that rooted back to, and how to change that voice within my own head so I could get out of my own head and move forward in life and evolve and glow up. I learned how to look in the mirror and accept and love myself for everything that I was, even while I still wanted to change. I learned my shadows, why I hated certain parts of myself, and I learned how to reintegrate these parts back into myself to love and accept them. I also learned how to look at my life circumstances, the cards that I was dealt, and look at them as not fixed. Look at them as I can change these cards. I can up-level them. I can transform them. Instead of looking at this deck of cards and saying, it is fixed and this is my life and this is how it's going to be and I am going to live a shitty life. I also got crystal clear on the stories that I was telling myself about what I could have and what I could not have in my life, and how that was impacting a lot of the actions that I was taking in my life. And I know there are so many women and even men who have been on the same journey that I have been on, this pursuit of glowing up into the best version of yourself, where nothing seems to work, where it seems like you constantly are in cycles and you cannot get out of it. You know that you are not living your absolute dream life. You know you're in this energy of waiting and self-hating and criticizing, and you want to stop. And my book, The Ultimate Glow Up Guide, is going to bring you through that process of glowing up from a place of self-hate and self-rejection to glowing up from a place of self-love and compassion and acceptance for yourself. It's going to allow you to understand yourself deeper. It's going to allow you to see yourself in my own story. And quite frankly, it's going to allow you to see light at the end of your tunnel, in which right now I know you can't see. I have created so much content on the internet regarding glowing up into the best version of yourself. The reason why I named my podcast The Glow Up Secrets was because I really felt like there was more work to be done on a glow up journey that a lot of people are not talking about. And when you think about a glow up journey, you think about the fitness routines and the dieting and the wellness and the everything, which can be very great. I am not even trying to discount taking care of yourself. You guys know I'm a wellness girl at heart. But there needs to be a lot more work done when you get to a point where you find you are in these consistent cycles and you feel like it's never ending and you're not evolving. So with that being said, The Ultimate Glow Up Guide, which is written by me, is available for pre-order now. And the published date is January 9th. For most countries, there is going to be a few that it might be a little bit later, about a month later, which would be Australia, UK, and Europe. But still, you can get it for pre-order. It's not going to be too long after. And when you make your purchase for this book, you will be eligible to receive my free journal guide. It is digital, or you can print it. It is my Shadow Work Inner Child Discovery Journal Prompt Guide. And all the details will be in the description. But if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to going to do a quick cover reveal and I'm going to read the back of the book. I don't actually have the physical book with me yet, but I wanted to talk about the pre-order because it is available and I just want to get this out to the world. But of course, when I have the physical book, I will show you. If you're on audio, I would highly suggest you come to the YouTube channel just to see. And then we'll quickly talk about the pricing. We'll talk about where you can get it. And then we're going to move into a lot of the Q&A questions that you guys had asked me on the Instagram podcast, which is the Glow Up Secrets podcast on Instagram, regarding how I really fix my relationship with food. But I wanted to introduce this book to this topic because this book is not necessarily a book on fixing your relationship with food, but this will absolutely be such a great tool to use on your journey of healing the relationship that you have towards yourself in any aspect of life, in my personal opinion. All right, so you guys y'all thought that the cover was going to be blue, but it's not. It's pink. It is pink and it is beautiful. And if you are listening on audio, it is a mix of pink and white. So it just fades in and out. I don't know really how to explain the color, but it's fine. You will see it. Also, I'll be posting this on the community tab. I'll be posting this on Instagram, everywhere. So you're going to see it. It has butterflies, which I feel like you guys knew there was going to be some butterflies on the cover. It is exactly how I wanted it. And when I mean exactly, I mean down to the color of pink, but this is exactly the one that I wanted. So the cover on the top, it says Alicia Gogan, The Ultimate Glow Up Guide, a guide to self-growth, self-care, and becoming the best version of you. So let's read the back, shall we? It says, Secrets to a Sustainable Glow Up. Before and after photos are worth 1,000 words, but do they tell the right story? Many women who find themselves at a low point in their lives and want to glow up are lured in by quick physical results. But Alicia Gogan of the Glow Up Secrets podcast is here to show you how to achieve the glow up that goes deeper than the physical and lasts a lifetime. When starting the glow up journey, sometimes we approach it from a place of shame and low self-worth. The Ultimate Glow Up Guide peels back layers to motivate you from a place of self-love and helps you create a vision that will keep you inspired and help you enjoy the process. If you are tired of repeating patterns, feeling less than, and wondering when your life will truly begin, this book is for you. In the Ultimate Glow Up Guide, you will discover why you self-sabotage and how to finally break unhealthy cycles and limiting beliefs, how to curb self-criticism and love yourself through a journey of self-transformation, ways to rebuild your self-worth and confidence in a society that breaks it down, and reflections and journal practices to help you connect more deeply with your inner child. I love this book for you guys specifically because it is not just a book, but it's also a reflection practice. There's journal practices in this book. So yes, you can write in this book. And I split up my book into 2 parts. The first part is essentially me bringing you through the journey of all of the cycles that I went through. And I think it was really important for me to share that part of my life with you, because in order for you to really change, you do need to see your patterns. You do really need to connect certain dots. And that's what I had to do throughout my life. I had to start seeing the ways in which I was repeating the same patterns and why I was repeating them. And then in part 2, it really is more about the teachings that I have learned, the wisdom that I have learned from my story, while I'm guiding you through certain practices that you can now implement if you find yourself stuck in these circumstances. And so I'm just going to read out a few chapters just so you can kind of get a feel for it a little bit more. So part 1, I call it a journey back home. So chapter 1 is Summer is Coming. You guys are going to relate to that so much. I already know. Chapter 2 is all about self-sabotage. Chapter 3, starting a healing journey. Part 2 is called Project You. And chapter 4 is about uncovering all parts of you. And this is a very important chapter because I really talk about how there's many parts of us. You guys know I talk about parts all the time. We have that inner child part of us that has learned to self-soothe through sometimes unhealthy behaviors because of most likely what we've gone through in childhood, but how we have this other part of us, and we can look at this part of us more of the tyrant, self-critical voice that we have within our heads that is constantly telling us to do more and start a new diet and start a new practice and you're not doing good enough? And how do we address the part of us that is clearly self-soothing and unhealthy behaviors and wanting to stay small and essentially go into a trauma response? But how do we also change the self-criticizing voice within our own heads so that we can still evolve and grow? How do we bring both of these parts back together in harmony? Because right now in our bodies, it's separation. And I show you examples of my own situation and how I had this one part of me that wanted to do one behavior, the self-sabotaging behavior, and then the other part of me that came online when I wasn't doing good in my life. And then in chapter 5, I talk about reparenting, which is more addressing that emotional side, the younger side of us, our inner child that might have learned how to self-soothe in different ways that might not be helping us anymore. And then in chapter 6, I talk about uncovering your shadow self, and it is heavily connected to your inner critic because your inner critic has certain beliefs about how you should look and be and act in the world based off of what we've learned in our past. So uncovering your shadows and uncovering the reason why you hate yourself and reject yourself is really important to lower this critical voice, this tyrant of a voice, so that you can get out of your own way and move past things and evolve while still being able to address your emotional side. And then chapter 7 is all about rebuilding your self-confidence. And I talk about things that affect your self-confidence and bringing it back to what I had written on the back of the book about how to navigate and live in a society where it seems like it's always breaking down your confidence or like lowering your self-esteem. I talk about my best tips and advice and things that I have used on my glow up journey to protect my own peace, to make sure that I'm having healthy boundaries, to make sure I'm having healthy relationships, what I did in toxic environments, because I did grow up in a very toxic environment and that really affected the way that I was able to either glow up or not in my life. And in chapter 8, I talk about your deck of cards. So bringing it more back to mindset and helping you see that the way that you perceive certain things in your life may either help or hurt you, and how it was so important for me to change the way that I was viewing the things that were happening in my life so that I can continue to move from rock bottom to where I'm at right now, and how the stories that we tell ourselves really do affect the way that we take action in our lives. And when we take action in our lives, that is when we have certain results in our lives. So if we want certain results in our lives, what stories are we going to need to tell ourselves? And like I said, for part 2, there is a lot of journal practices and reflections that you will be able to bring yourself through, which I just felt was helpful to help you really get clear on what it is that you are currently struggling with and ways that you can help yourself and aid yourself through this period of time and become your own self-healer. This book is about becoming your own self-healer. So where can you get my book? You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Nobles. You can go into your local bookshop and request the book. You can get it at indie pubs. You can get it at Bookshop, Booktopia. I will have all of the links where you can buy my book. It will also be available on Kindle. It'll be available audio as well. The price will be $22.99 USD. So obviously that will change depending on what your currency is, but I feel like it's a very affordable book. And once you place your order for pre-order, you will be able to screenshot your purchase and send it to Mango Publishing House, which is publishing my book, and they will send you a link to the free journal guide, and the email will be in the description. Everything that you need will be in the description. And if you pre-order the book, I so appreciate your love and your support. So many of you guys have already told me that you are going to buy it, you're going to pre-order it, you're so excited for it. I really, really hope that this book allows you to feel seen, if anything, because I just feel like when I was in the shower the other day and I was thinking, the younger version of me would have needed this book. The younger version of me would have read this book and been like, oh my God, I feel seen. Like, this is literally what I'm going through right now. Like, I was so into self-development for so many years and I was only touching the surface. I wasn't even going deeper. And that was because it was my own journey. I wasn't there yet, but I am just so happy to be able to put this out into the world. And hopefully one day there's going to be like this young 16-year-old girl who is struggling with wanting to glow up into the best version of herself. And, maybe she has some inner child healing that needs to be done and she has no idea about that. She doesn't understand what is going on. This book, she's going to find this book, this beautiful aesthetically pleasing book. She's going to pick it up thinking that, oh yeah, this book is going to tell me how to do my makeup or like do another workout. And then she's going to go on this whole entire journey and she's going to be like, holy shit. I know that that's what this book is going to do. So I have talked about this book for a very long time already. I really appreciate all of the support and love. But now let's quickly talk about or address some of the questions that you guys asked regarding healing my relationship to food. Healing your relationship with food is something that goes beyond deeper than starting a random new diet or like stopping yourself from binge eating in that moment and that's it. It's this whole thing. You have to go deeper. You got to go to the root. Why do I have this unhealthy relationship with food? Which obviously my book explains, but I do want to address some of the comments and give you like my best tips as well. But I just want to quickly make a disclaimer. I am not a therapist. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not anything of that sort. But I also would like to say, I did not go to therapy. I didn't have money to go to therapy when I went through all of this stuff. And I'm not trying to say that to like deter you from going to a food therapist or going to a therapist, because obviously like if you can, it's so great to go and get that continuous support, right? Like I think consistency over everything is so important when you're trying to change a certain behavior. And so if you go to therapy week after week after week, it can definitely be helpful. But I just want to say that for the ones who I know just don't have the money to go to therapy, like I just know that. And like if I was struggling with an unhealthy relationship with food or like any sort of weird behaviors that I was doing, if the only answer I was told was going to fix this was like I had to go to a food therapist, I would feel like my life was over because it's like I don't have money to go. So I just want to say that I'm not saying like be your own self-healer and just like do everything on your own. If you are struggling, then you need to get help. You need to reach out. Even if you can't go to get therapy, like obviously like talking to friends, family, anything, it's going to be better than just like sitting on the internet and like spiraling and listening to a bunch of random advice. I don't think my advice is random. I think it's very specific. But I just want to say that, okay? So take this as whatever you want to take it as. This is just what I have gone through and my personal advice based off of what I have gone through. All right, I had to take a little bit of a break because I was talking for so long and I feel like I'm just going to continue to talk. This is probably going to be a very long episode and I'm not sorry about it. We'll have timestamps, obviously. But when I actually think about how I healed my relationship with food, it definitely came in phases. It first came in the phase of like me hitting rock bottom and realizing like dieting and strict fitness regimens and just being hyper obsessed in that world wasn't working. And every time I did that and put rules and regulations on myself, I just like dove into it more. So I had to kind of like release the dieting and the fitness and hyper obsessing over my body. And the way that I did that though was learning how to rebuild my self-worth and look at myself as somebody that was worthy and deserving of love, worthy and deserving of living a beautiful life regardless of what my body looked like. And I learned to stop putting so much of my worth and my value based off of how I physically appeared in the mirror. And what really helped me was honestly putting my focus on things outside of my body image, outside of like the physical glow up aspect. And quite frankly, I kind of had to do that when I was hitting my rock bottom because my finances were a mess. My mental health was not good. My health wasn't good because I would binge eat all of the time. And on the journey of releasing this obsession over my body image, I became very aware of what was going on with me, which was I had an emotional side, my very young part of me that would go to food and want to hide out in her room and eat a bunch of junk food and not take care of herself. And that's how I learned to handle my emotions, handle the uncertainty of life. But of course, those behaviors didn't keep me healthy or safe. Staying in your room and scrolling on Tumblr and eating a bunch of donuts and not going out and living your life, like that's not a healthy way of living. But that's just the way that I learned how to deal with the stressors of my life. And so once I realized, okay, like the behaviors that I'm doing is just me escaping reality, how when I feel alone or how when I feel abandoned or scared or afraid, how can I meet my needs in healthier ways? So instead of going to candy to help me feel safe which I used to do when I was a child because that's the only thing I learned how to do, which was a survival mechanism. Now that I'm an adult, when I have the urge and tendency to want to go to food, how can I stop myself in the moment and become aware of what are the emotions and what is the trigger that is leading me to want to go binge on this food right now? And a lot of the times it was my emotions. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know how to deal with a loneliness or sadness or not having control in my life. But also on top of that, the masculine dominant side of me would be way too strict. So I would have these rules and regulations on myself being like, you could just never eat a piece of cake. But then sometimes when I want to go with my friends or want to go live my life, I want to have that piece of cake, but I would be such a tyrant on myself to the point where then I would just, okay, you know what? I'm just going to binge because I fucked up and then I'm going to start on Monday. But of course, that's not a healthy cycle to be in. So I had to address my emotional side and be really aware of my triggers and what was leading me to eat emotionally anyways. And when I mean eat emotionally, I just mean not take care of myself. You know, there's so many great practices that we can do for ourselves. Why am I deciding to eat 12 donuts in my bed? Like, that's not a healthy thing to do, but I'm not going to shame myself and I'm not going to be mad at myself for doing it and then try again on Monday and restrict myself. I'm going to question why I am doing this in the first place. And once I know why I'm doing this, what are new habits and new actions that I can take in replace of me going to this donut, let's say. And this was not perfect. And I had to do this over and over and over again. And there was many times where I knew my trigger and I binged anyways. When you're on a healing journey, you don't just know why you binge or like know why you emotionally eat because you had like a traumatizing past and then you just stop. It takes this level of like allowing and witnessing yourself. And on top of that, releasing this dire need to want to be this Tumblr girl, let's say, so that you can continue to move out of your own way. But we don't sometimes want to release this idea of wanting to be the best version of ourselves because we're like, well, I'm looking in the mirror and I don't like my body, or I don't like my wellness routines, or the fact that I don't have any, or that I'm not living healthy, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to let go of that. But you holding on to this so tightly, you don't understand that the ways that you're telling yourself you need to achieve wellness and health is from a very tyrant-y, self-hating way. And for me, that voice was really a reflection of my father's voice. My father was way too strict on me. He was such a tyrant. And yes, we need discipline. Yes, we need masculine structure in our lives to get the things that we want in our lives. But the way in which that we do that is very important. If you are turning into this tyrant, you are putting yourself under slavery. That is not going to motivate yourself, your parts, or anyone to actually really enjoy that process or want to do these things for good, right? There is a difference between having power from this place of like, you need to do this and you have no choice, versus having this power in the sense of influence, of good influence, of being like, you know what, this is a great thing for me to do. Like, I should have had my father, instead of yelling at me to, let's say, do 3 hours of dishes after school every single day, and not explain to me, you know, why it's good that I do the chores, or how this is not a punishment and this is just me learning how to be an adult. And also, maybe you don't have to do 3 hours. Maybe I'll take a little bit of the load off instead of me telling you that you have to do everything because you're just the child and you should listen to me. Like, that type of behavior, it's confusing to the person that has to do that, to the point where it becomes way too overwhelming and then I can't do it anymore. You don't want to do that. When you want to change, you want to change from this place of support and love for yourself, of understanding like these are healthy behaviors that we want to do, like eating healthy and moving our body because it has these benefits. Not you need to do these things because if you don't work out and eat right, then you're going to be unworthy and you're not going to be lovable and nobody's going to like you and no one's going to accept you. That's not the way that we can move through life. And of course, the book addresses all of that. So I really had to address the emotional side of me And I also had to address the more masculine side of me. And on my early journey of glowing up, I was really only trying to address myself from the masculine side by picking up a new diet or a new fitness regimen or starting again on Monday type of thing. But I didn't realize that even the structure that I had in place was from a very toxic place. Now, I would suggest you go listen to the episode of Living Cyclically, Balancing Masculine and Feminine Energy, because I talk about the difference between wounded masculine energy and healthy masculine energy, because we need structure in our lives, especially when we want to be on a pursuit of eating well, moving our bodies, having results in our lives. We need to have some sort of structure, but how we go about that is very important. Are we doing it from this place of you need to do this or you're literally worth nothing, or you should do this because it has these benefits and it's so great and you deserve to eat well and move your body? And I would like to say now it's been many years since I've really healed my relationship with food. I say sometimes that you don't necessarily, no one's ever going to have a perfect relationship with food, but you're just going to have a unique relationship to food. And for me personally, the way I like to look at it is I intentionally eat. I eat foods that I know are great for my body, that support my health and wellness goals. I am very aware of my past tendencies, and I make sure not to put any harsh rules or restrictions on myself because I know what that does for me. And I know the most important thing that I could do for myself is to be consistent with fueling my body the way that it needs. I know the foods that are great for me. This is not about deeming food good or bad, but yes, we know the foods that are more healthy, like eating from home, eating balanced whole foods, making sure you're hitting your protein and making sure you're having healthy carbs and healthy fats. Like those are all great things that we can, that's how I look at things. I know that some people who talk about healing relationship with food, they're like, there's no good or bad foods. And like, technically, yes, but when you're on the healing journey, but like, I know the foods that make me feel great and the ones that I know that I'm like, if I'm eating a donut and pizza, like I know that doesn't really have the most nutritional value, but I'm not going to obsess over it. And the more times I took off the restrictions, and I addressed myself from this emotional side and I met my needs in healthier ways instead of just always going to food, I didn't find myself ever wanting to binge eat or ever wanting to go to food. And that was something I thought I never was going to be able to not do, was to like not think about food. But I do think it takes time. It takes you really knowing yourself, looking at yourself like you have different parts of you that like to come online in times of stress and uncertainty in life, and doing your best to hold that inner child's hand and guide it into a new place, a healthier place. Not this, oh, you need to just eat a salad place. I mean, oh my God, why are you feeling so alone right now? Did you go through a breakup? Are you feeling like you have no path in life? Are you lost? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you mad at your parents? Are you processing trauma that you actually don't know how to process? What do you need? And I can tell you this, it's not going to be a salad or another workout. It's not. So somebody asked me, I have a problem with knowing that there's certain food that are bad for me, but like I'm still doing it. I would suggest you go watch my video on why we self-sabotage and how to stop, but I also talk about that in the book. There is a part of you that is going to a certain type of behavior for a certain reason because it believes that that is the thing that's going to keep you safe emotionally. And that part of you is probably stuck in childhood and doesn't know that we don't need to do that behavior in order to regulate our emotions or self-soothe. And we can do other healthier behaviors to self-soothe instead of, let's say, binge on food, because we know that that's not very healthy. But I would suggest going to watch that video because there actually is a reason why we technically self-sabotage, and it's to keep us safe. Someone wanted me to talk about ignoring cravings while you're trying to cut back on sugar and junk. I think when it comes to you being aware that you're doing an undesirable behavior, for you to understand why you are triggered to go to that undesirable behavior, for one. So this is not to demonize junk or sugar. There's just going to be times where you have a craving and you just go eat the donut. It's like not that big of a deal. But like obviously when you're continuously always doing that, it's like, okay, what about my work life, my relationships, my home life, my finances? What is going on? What is creating this need in my head that I feel like I need to go to this undesirable behavior versus like trying to put band-aids or like trying to like let me just take junk food out of my place so that way I'm not going to get triggered ever. It's very hard when you live in a life where everything is very triggering. It's like, okay, how do I work on this incessive need of wanting to have sugar anyways in the first place? There's always a reason. And now some reasons are much deeper. And now that I've worked through a lot of my own shit in my life, there's still times where, which is very rare, that I'll like want to have a sugar craving. And yeah, maybe that's like I had a little bit of a stressful week or I'm bored. So I'm just like gonna get it. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I'm very aware of that. But if you find that you're like constantly going to that food, it most likely has to do with your nervous system is probably in fight or flight. You're probably very stressed. I talk about this in the book a lot. And how can you help your nervous system move back from fight or flight to rest and digest so it doesn't feel like it needs this dopamine kick from sugar? Because realistically, the sugar is just making you feel something in that moment, but then you dip back down. It's not a bad thing to want to cut out sugar or cut out junk, but first addressing why you do that in the first place. But of course, I would say some more healthier behaviors when it comes to like cutting back on junk is to make sure that you have a stocked pantry of your favorite foods, healthy versions of things. And I want to be careful when I say healthier versions of things, because sometimes that can just be like a coping thing and like nothing ever hits. Like, I just mean like for me, like I love to have yogurt bowls, which are great. It's high protein. It has berries in it. I put some honey in it. It helps with my sweet tooth. I don't feel bad about it. It's okay that you have a craving for something sweet. I have a little bit of dark chocolate in my freezer sometimes. I'll freeze grapes in the summertime usually. I'll have my protein smoothies, which taste really sweet and yummy, but also has high protein and there's nothing bad in it. Like, those are some great things that I like to have in the times where I do have some cravings, because sometimes you just can't necessarily ignore it completely. And if I do have this ravenous obsession with wanting, that's when it's like, okay, what's going on internally, emotionally, and how can I meet that need first? Someone said, sometimes I feel afraid of eating foods with a lot of fat on it. How can I overcome this? Okay, well, this is a belief system. You have a belief that fat is bad. So I would suggest working on where you first picked up this belief of fat is bad. And most likely it's just society and online internet. Everyone's demonizing everything. And now this is, again, not to mean that there's not differences in certain qualities of food, but I don't know what type of fat you think you're thinking is bad, but fat is very healthy. Fat is very important, especially for women and your hormones, especially for your period, especially just for your mood and your satiation so that you feel fueled and energized throughout the day. Fat is very, very good. And I eat a lot of fat. I eat lots of avocado, lots of guacamole. I will have fat on steak, which I usually cut it off kind of, but still, like, it also makes everything very tasty and juicy. I'll add peanut butter to my protein oatmeal. I cook with oils. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I think, you know, societal programming has taught you there's always trends. There's always trends when it comes to food about, oh, low fat diets are the thing that are going to like help you lose weight and this, that, and the third. But healthy fat is great for your body as a woman. So I would just suggest you get very clear on where this belief came from and is it fully true? Is that true that fat is bad? And my answer is no, it's not bad. It's actually very important. You need fat in your diet. Someone asked me, do you intermittent fast? And if so, how many hours? 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. is really challenging. So obviously the answer is no. I also used to try fasting. I've tried every single diet. I'm not joking. Every single one you could possibly think of, I tried it. And the reason why I brought this up into this conversation is because you said it's really challenging. Food and eating and moving your body should not be challenging. I'm not saying fitness is always going to be the easiest thing, right? Like my leg days are always the easiest thing. But this is something that's supposed to be a way of life. If this is so challenging for you, I would highly suggest reconsidering the type of diet that you're trying to pick up and why. Now, I'm assuming you're probably doing that to like lose weight. But again, if you find that you're overeating, you're binge eating, you're not eating great foods, it doesn't matter what diet you try and do, you're going to come to the same conclusion, and that is something within you. And I don't mean this from a place of like blaming yourself, because there's a lot of reasons why we do this, right? Like we're emotionally stressed, or we've learned from society that this diet is good, or you should eat like that, or this, that, and the third. But, you know, I think we just need to come back to basics a lot of the times. We know the foods that are great for us. We know the foods that make us feel amazing. Why is it that it's so hard for us to just be consistent with that? You want to go into that direction. What rules, what regulations, what are the things that I'm telling myself about food and how I should eat? Obviously, it depends on your schedule and your lifestyle as well, but it's like, it's okay to be hungry after 8 p.m. It's okay to wake up in the morning and be hungry. And quite frankly, if you're a woman, I have listened and read a lot of books. And when I mean listened, I mean like podcasts about how intermittent fasting is really, really not good for women and their hormones. And I understand the benefits of intermittent fasting and how it can like help you lose weight and all this stuff. And a lot of people say that they feel really, really good on this sometimes. So I'm not going to like drag anyone from doing this, but it is really important. And I don't mean like you have to eat all the time, but it's so great to start your morning off with a high protein fueling meal to start your metabolism, to make sure your hormones are balanced, to make sure you have clarity, mental clarity, energy throughout your day. Yes, I understand that you can operate from when you wake up in the morning to like 12, 1 o'clock with energy. Like some people do that, but you're essentially just running off of your carbs from the day before. That's where you're getting your energy from, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I just don't see the benefit of you essentially starving your body of real essential nutrients that your body needs consistently every single day. And now, if you cycle sync, there's definitely going to be ebbs and flows in your hunger levels or how your body needs to be fueled. So I would suggest looking into that as well, like cycle syncing. Like I find when I'm on my period, I definitely eat a lot more foods. I need a little bit more nourishment. I need a little bit more carbs. I don't like try and add more carbs. I just intuitively, my body, I catch myself being like so much more hungry. And I don't even mean in the sense of like ravenous cravings where I'm eating all this crappy food, but in general, like I need some more fuel, especially when I'm weightlifting. My muscles burns a lot of calories. And by the way, muscle, even when at rest, burns a lot of calories, which it's great because then you don't have to do cardio all day, but also having muscle is so good for your hormones as well. As a woman, especially as you get older, it is a lot harder for you to build and maintain muscle on your body. And so I would highly suggest that you make sure that you're not straying away from like muscle building and this whole like just wanting to be skinny to just like look like a Tumblr girl. And when I mean Tumblr girl, I just mean Pinterest girl in this day and age. I would highly suggest you reconsider where you are learning this information. Now, What's the Juice podcast, and I think it's called Better by Stephanie. I will have both of them linked down below. Those are really really good health podcasts, I should say, that I personally believe like they know what they're talking about, especially for women. But I would just say like the intermittent fasting, if it's so challenging for you, you need to reevaluate why that is. And can you just do something different? Someone said, what is the best way to eat when you're on a weight gain journey? And I want to be careful because I don't want to push any sort of diet or any sort of like obsession over food type thing. And even though I prioritize higher protein foods in my life, I am very aware of my tendencies. I do not hyper focus on meals if I cannot get all of the protein. I don't count, like I'm not obsessive, but I'm very intentional with my food and I eat higher protein to help my muscles build. Also, like I said, it helps with your hormones. It helps you stay satiated, and I actually just like protein a lot. Like that's just like how I like to eat. But I would say if you're on a weight gain or a weight loss journey, just be very careful and don't let that consume your life. You have so much more life outside of you gaining this weight or you losing this weight, I promise you. And I have been on this journey for this past year. I've been like really, really building my muscles on my legs. And I've been seeing amazing results, but it's been very slow, very steady, very healthy. I'm going to make a whole main channel video on this, but that's the only thing that I've really done is make sure that I'm prioritizing my protein intake, just making sure I have more protein smoothies, every meal that I have, I usually have like a steak or salmon. If I'm having eggs, I'll have turkey bacon on toast. Someone said how to eat when you want to lose weight. Now, again, I'm not going to push any diets or restrictions or anything like that. But I think for one, getting clear on why maybe you were in this weight in the first place, which is totally fine if you are. But I actually would suggest that you not limit your calorie intake very low, because what your body's going to start doing is holding on to fat. And I actually think, obviously you want to eat balanced foods. You want to still make sure that you are eating healthy fats, carbs, and proteins. You don't want to be limiting any nutrients to your beautiful body, but also making sure that you're doing some sort of weight training on top of what you're probably trying to do, which is a bunch of cardio, because muscle burns more calories than anything else in your body, and even at rest. So a lot of people think doing a bunch of cardio is going to be the answer to like lowering your calories, but it actually doesn't. It trains your body to hold on to fat a lot of the time. So you'll get low on your calorie intake and low maybe on the scale for a little bit, but then you find that nothing budges. And that's really because you don't actually have muscle that will help maintain your healthy weight. And in general, it's just way too hard to continue to like lower your food intake. Like you need to eat. You can't just be eating salads all day for the rest of your life. You'll get to a point where you can't lower your food anymore. I would highly suggest that you check out this book, and I'm going to link it down below. It's called The Resistance Training Revolution, I believe. I forget if that's the title. I've read it a long time ago, but it's an insane book if you're interested in learning the importance of muscle building, but also if you're on a weight loss journey, please go and get that book. It will change your life. Someone said, how to keep things healthy when you're on a grind and have no time to cook. Honestly, just pick your most favorite meals, pick a protein or two for the week, and just rotate it. Like, I am so busy as well. Like, I totally feel this, and I also live alone. So I love steak, and I like chicken, and I like salmon. So throughout the week, I'll make sure that I have all those three proteins on deck. And if I want a steak, I'll either make a Greek salad with that I can have it with, or I can add the steak into a wrap, or I can add the steak on a sandwich, or I can eat the steak by itself, or I can have a rice bowl with the steak. Like, I just get like my main proteins, and then I just get random things to kind of like add as a side. Or even when it comes to salmon, I can do the exact same thing, right? Well, maybe not the salmon in the wrap, because that's kind of, I don't like that, but I can have the salmon in a bowl with my rice, chopped up lettuce, any sort of vegetables that I have on hand, and I can just saute it up and just make it very quickly and like add it into a bunch of crap. Not crap, but also chicken, the same thing. I could have a chicken bowl. I can add chicken into a wrap, into a sandwich. Lately, I've been making quesadillas. So I have my tortillas, which I can use those tortillas for literally anything. And I have some shredded cheese, and then I make sure to saute some bell peppers and mushrooms. I add it into the quesadilla, and I add the chicken, and I make it on the pan. And that will last me like a few days throughout the week. But again, if I ran out of chicken, I can use steak, and I can make a steak quesadilla. Or if I have the bell peppers and the mushrooms and I have no more tortillas and I can't make that, I can use the bell peppers and the mushrooms into my steak bowl. I can have my rice with it. I can have my guacamole, my steak, and my sauteed vegetables. I also love to incorporate smoothies. I think smoothies are a really easy way for me to get my protein intake in. I'll add plain Greek yogurt. Plain Greek yogurt is really high in protein. I add my protein powder in there. I add my athletic greens. I add berries. I'll add ice. I'll add some oat milk and a little bit, I know it's weird, of orange juice, but I swear it tastes really, really good. Blend that up, and it takes like 3 seconds. I just make things that are very quick, and I rotate a lot of the same thing. Now, I do have a Pinterest board of food ideas if you're interested, and I also have been posting a lot of my meals on my Instagram story highlights along with my TikTok. So if you want some ideas, then check those out as well. Someone said, how many times do you eat a day? What does your eating schedule look like? How are you motivated to eat healthy? And how many times do you usually eat junk food? So, how many times do I eat a day? However many times that I need to. I make sure that I eat breakfast in the morning. Lately, I've been really making sure to eat before coffee. I will eat after I work out. I will then eat again, like for kind of like that I kind of call it lunch. I'll have like 2 breakfasts kind of. Like I'll eat something in the morning just a little bit, and then after my workout I'll eat something, and then I'll have like my lunch and then my dinner, and sometimes I'll have like maybe a yogurt bowl or like whatever I want to eat. Again, I do not have strict anything. So like my eating schedule, that's kind of how it looks. How am I motivated to eat healthy? It's not about being motivated, because, do you ask somebody, how are you motivated to brush your teeth? We're not motivated to brush our teeth. We just do that because it's like a normal, healthy thing that we do in our lives, right? And I'm not saying that this is a bad question to ask, but I have gotten to the point where I don't need to be motivated to eat healthy. It's just something that I do because I know that it's good for me. And I mean, in terms of like, I guess, motivation to eat food, I just make sure that I'm making meals that I really enjoy. So I'm not necessarily motivated to eat these foods, but yeah, like I look forward to eating my quesadilla. I look forward to having my protein smoothie. I look forward to having my yogurt bowl, because these are foods that I know that support my fitness and health goals, but also just make me feel really good and taste good, right? You want to eat foods that taste good. Gone are the days that we're just eating chicken and broccoli, baby. And she said, how many times do you usually eat junk foods? I don't know. No idea. Whenever I want, literally whenever I want, which is not a lot, because I don't have the emotional drive to eat these unhealthy foods. And if I do have that craving, because of course we get cravings, a lot of the times it's not about putting restrictions on myself, but I'm just like, okay, I really want like donuts right now. But like, I also could just have a yogurt bowl and I'll be fine. Like, I don't need to go to that extreme. But sometimes I'm like, no, I want a donut and I'm going to eat a donut. Thank you. So I don't know. That's what I do. Someone said, I just feel like the moment that I eat out or eat dessert, I gain weight instantly. I literally wrote beside it, this is literally not accurate. And I have to say that. You don't instantly gain weight when you eat food in that moment. And even we can bring it to like dessert or eat out. That's not how it works. Over time, when you're constantly eating a lot of food that is also highly processed, that is also probably highly inflammatory for your body, and on top of that, you're stressed about eating the food, over time, yes, that's when you're going to start gaining weight. This is so important, something that I didn't understand when I was even healing my relationship with food, is your mindset as you're eating food can highly affect the way that you process food as well. And I think that some of you could probably agree with this. There is times where you can eat something that's necessarily not like the best for you and you'd be fine, but other times you eat it and you're not fine. And what I found was the times that I was hyper obsessing over the fact that I was eating a donut and telling myself how bad it was and, oh my God, I'm ruining my progress and this, that, I would get stomach cramps. I would feel like crap. I would literally like feel like I was actually gaining weight. But on top of that, like my body would just react really poorly, versus when I moved heavily out of these food rules and getting out of my head and not demonizing foods for what they were. I can eat food, like let's say a donut, everything's fine. I'm not breaking out. I'm not having any cramps. I'm not feeling heavy the next day. I'm not like going into a binge even. I'm not doing any of that. Why? My mindset around that. I'm not demonizing it. It's fine. This is not going to kill me. And I will say I had something called orthorexia, which was this obsession over eating everything very, very clean. I talk about this in my book. I ended up getting this type of ED essentially because I had ulcerative colitis. And then when I got ulcerative colitis, I learned partly it could have to do with your diet. So I went on all of these clean eating diets because I wanted to heal myself, which was such a great thing to do. But in that process, once again, I lost myself and I got an ED out of it because I was training my mind that the only way that I was going to heal and the only way that I was going to be good in general was if I ate 100% clean all the time, and it just can't happen. You live in the 21st or 22nd century. I don't even know what century we're in at this point. You can't be perfect with everything, and you don't need to. That's the thing. You don't need to. You're allowed to have a donut here and there. If you are telling yourself you can't have a donut here and there, girl, Oh my God. And I'm not trying to also promote this, like, eat whatever you want, whatever. We know the foods that are great for us and that are not so great for us. But what's important for me personally is consistency and fueling my body. And also the mindset that I have as I'm eating food. And also, what are the other areas of my life that I need to focus on? My quality of my relationships, my movement. Am I moving my body outside of if I can burn calories or if this is going to give me a bigger ass? Like, genuinely, am I moving my body? Am I building muscles so that I can be sustained and healthy throughout my life? Like, these things are so much more important than whether this donut is good or bad for you. Someone asked me, how did you heal your ulcerative colitis without being too restrictive? Yeah, I had to stop every single diet that they told me to be. And when I mean they, not even doctors, because doctors will tell you there's no cure and just to take medicine, which that wasn't the answer I wanted either. But then on the flip side, I went to like alternative healing practices, and then they would tell you, oh, low FODMAP is going to be the answer to healing your IBD or your IBS, or like you just have to heal your gut. And I'm not saying that these things couldn't be helpful on the journey of healing yourself, but it's not the entire picture. Emotionally, what's going on, the traumas, the internal healing that needs to go deeper than just the diet is not going to fix your issues completely. And so I started to realize that. And if anything, these diets were hurting me because it pushed me to have this orthorexia, this obsession over eating clean, and then I wouldn't be able to eat clean, and then I would binge, and then I was eating way worse than I actually would if I just like didn't have any rules on myself. So I had to drop all diets. I did my best to eat like balanced and healthy, kind of going back to the basics, you know, am I nourishing my body? Am I cooking my food from home? I do know the foods that are better for me than not. I'm going to let go of what I've learned online from every guru telling you that carbs are bad, but then fat is bad, but then you can only eat a carnivore diet, but then vegan's the best way for me. What is good for me? I need to listen to my own body. And on top of that, I really went into nervous system regulation. And I talk about this again a lot in my book. It's my personal opinion that a lot of autoimmune diseases, a lot of chronic illnesses are from this place of your nervous system being in fight or flight. And you don't fix that through a diet. You fix that through healing your nervous system by doing practices like coming back to yourself, emotionally releasing, self-soothing, guided meditations, relaxing, breathing, coming to your body, going to somatic therapy. Those techniques are the things that are going to help you heal your nervous system more than any fucking diet. I'm sorry. And I think the thing that trips a lot of people up when people talk about, oh, I went on this low FODMAP diet or this IBS diet and it fixed my issues. I'm not saying it's placebo, but what I am saying is when you go on a certain diet for a moment in time, sometimes those work because you feel like you've gotten your answer and your nervous system has kind of come down to fight or flight into like rest and digest for a little bit because you're on this like journey and you got this new diet and like you're making progress. But sometimes if you're not going into the deeper layers of healing, you usually find yourself coming out of this very fast because you realize it's kind of actually very restricting and you can't like live life depending on the diet that you're going on. And then you go right back into fight or flight and then nothing really seems to be working. And that's what I found myself doing a lot. Like sometimes it would work for a little bit, or like I would take this like random supplement and I'm like, oh, it's healing all my issues, but then things would come back. It's because I wasn't going deeper. I'm not saying that any of these diets don't work and it couldn't help you in the process of healing, like taking a probiotic or working on your gut health. These are all great things that you can do, but I just stress this importance of there's not going to be just one thing. And that's what I thought when I was younger. I thought like this low FODMAP diet or like going vegan or this probiotic or seeing a naturopath and they're going to tell me to take this supplement, that's going to be the thing that just like takes away my problems. And unfortunately, it wasn't the full picture. It could have helped, yes, the same way medication can help you, but medication, in my personal opinion, is not the full answer. I took medication for my ulcerative colitis to help lower inflammation because I needed that because I was chronically sick and ill, and I wasn't going to be able to fight inflammation just by doing alternative healing practices. But as I was taking that medication, I wanted to go on this path of healing, of getting to the root as to why I needed that medication in the first place. And once I did that and I did those healing practices and I came back to my nervous system and I changed my whole entire life, the way that I viewed myself, I changed my relationships, I changed the way that I related to stress, I changed my productivity and the way that I was like making money and finances and everything, I really like rebalanced my life. That's when I started healing to the point where then I got off of medication and I'm not on medication anymore. So that's just how I did it. I never want to demonize medication. I think that is a great thing to use and you need it sometimes. But I just think if you possibly can, as you are choosing whatever healing modality that you want to choose, like medication or like a certain gut healing protocol, go deeper if you can. Someone said, I always fall off during my period. How do you eat and stay healthy during your cycle? So I like to do my best to, again, always have things on hand at my place. So I love my yogurt bowls. So I make sure I always have like things that I can make for my yogurt bowls. I'll have dark chocolate. Those are like my main two things that I tend to like crave, is something like the yogurt bowl is not like ice cream, but like an ice cream type of like thing, or like chocolate. So I usually have that on hand. But again, sometimes I'm not perfect. I'll just have that donut baby. But I will say over the years of healing, I've had less and less urgency to eat highly processed or like falling off of anything, because I'm not trying to be on anything. But I found the more that I was fueling my body consistently, like making sure that I was eating breakfast, giving myself the opportunity to eat out if I wanted to, eating some chocolate if I wanted to, like not having all these restrictions, I don't really have the urgencies to want to go and eat off of diet because I'm not on anything anyways, but my body is fueled. And sometimes, especially when you're around your period, you'll have different deficiencies going on because your hormones are fluctuating, which is very normal. So maybe it's not your mindset. You're not like anything's going on in your mind. Like physically, you have that urge to want to have something like chocolate. A lot of the times it's because you have a magnesium deficiency. Now you can supplement with magnesium, or you can eat foods rich in magnesium that will help curb that craving of, let's say, highly processed foods, let's say chocolate, right? First of all, you don't have to do that. You can just have the damn chocolate. But what I found was not necessarily making sure that I'm like supplementing a lot of magnesium, which I actually do, and that is for my cramps. I don't do that for food, but because I fuel myself consistently throughout the month, I'm eating my breakfast, lunch, dinner, I'm having balanced meals, I'm weight training, I have healthy muscle, I'm sleeping well, I have good relationships in my life, I don't tend to be so depleted on my period. This doesn't mean that my energy does not dip and that my hormones are not fluctuating. They absolutely are. But I have found over time, the more I pour into myself and I nourish myself, I find my body is not calling out for these things such as magnesium, because I'm magnesium efficient essentially throughout the month because I eat and because I'm nourishing my body. Someone said I have problems with food because I feel like I'm obligated to eat to gain weight and it makes me feel so bad. I have anxiety because I'm skinny. So I address this in my book a lot, Uncovering Your Shadow, because what's going on here is you have been taught somewhere in your life that being skinny is bad and wrong and not attractive maybe, or whatever it is that you think in your head based off of what you have learned. So essentially you look in the mirror and you see yourself as skinny and you have been taught that that's not good. So you throw the fact that you are skinny in your shadow. Essentially you hate that part of you. You reject it. You deny it. Because you have this inner innate wanting and longing to be accepted by society and loved, you want to do the best that you can to try and fit in and to reject the part of you that is skinny. This is not to mean that you can't go on this pursuit of wanting to gain weight. You're allowed to do that if you want. The way that you're going to maybe potentially gain some more weight, it's going to be better if you do this from a place of it's okay that I'm skinny versus it's so bad that I'm skinny, or I have to gain weight because that's the only way that I'm going to be loved, right? So Uncovering Your Shadow, and when you pre-order the book actually and you get the inner child shadow work guide, you can literally start working on these insecurities from the get-go. But please just don't feel like you have to do anything, please, because there are people that you will meet in your life that will say you have to gain weight because you are skinny, but the opposite will also be true. There will be people that say you have to lose weight because you're too big. What is it that you need and want based off of what you want for yourself? I don't know how skinny you are. I don't know how overweight you are. There might be things that you want to work on, and that's okay. But we cannot continue to change ourselves in pursuit of wanting the acceptance and love from other people. Understand you will find somebody, and I'm not saying that you want someone to love you, but I'm just saying it kind of goes this, it really does go this deep, but you will be accepted and loved as soon as you learn how to accept and love yourself. Stop demonizing yourself for being skinny. It's not the full story. If you're struggling to gain weight because it's hard for you to eat a lot of food, please don't try and force again, we don't want to get into these behaviors of forcing ourselves to eat or forcing ourselves to look this certain way. Like if it's going against your natural body's want and desire to eat, then don't force yourself. But again, I don't know your full situation. Maybe you're really undernourished and maybe you have no appetite. And I would suggest trying to work on rebuilding your metabolism. Like for me personally, I got into a lot of habits, even throughout the summer, where like I wasn't really eating a lot and I just like wasn't that hungry, but I knew it was really important for me to not only eat in support of weight gain. I'm not really on like a weight gain journey. I'm just like, I want to support my muscles, but I knew that it was really important for my hormones. So I was like, no, like I know it's good for me to eat a breakfast. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but I want to eat breakfast in the morning instead of coffee. Like I don't want to run off of coffee and anxiety all day. So how can I start small? How can I add, a little bit more protein into my meals? Or if I have a smoothie and if I'm a smoothie girl, maybe could I add some Greek yogurt into the smoothie that's going to add some more protein? Or maybe I can buy a whey protein and add a scoop of whey protein in my smoothies now so that I can up the nutritional value of this food. Someone said, tips on loving yourself through a fat loss journey. I just think that there is so much more to life than our bodies. And I know that it doesn't feel like it, especially when you're on a pursuit of a certain goal. But I think you really need to remind yourself that. And I think that I have learned how to remind myself that. And even when it comes to me, let's say, wanting to build more muscle on my body, I have to look at myself in the mirror every day and say, I'm good where I'm at. And I'm still lovable. And I'm still amazing. And I can still go to the beach. And I can still go live life. And I can still find love. And I can still find success in the body that I'm in. Because I am not just my body. And quite frankly, my body should be the least interesting thing about me. You know what's more important is my heart, is my soul. How do I treat people? What am I doing to impact other people's lives? How am I showing up for myself? And how am I doing better for myself? Remind yourself of those things in the times where you are on a pursuit to a certain goal. And remind yourself, first of all, you're going to get there. Okay, you will absolutely get there. But also, there's so much more life to be lived. It's okay. It's okay that your body's not where you want it to be, and it's summer and it's bikini season. I know it's difficult. I know it's not the easiest. I know it's easy to say from somebody who I look in the mirror and I know, yes, there's a lot of people who think that my body is like goals. But I've been there. I've even been there when my body was goals, but I couldn't see it because I had body dysmorphia. Now, I'm going to link a few episodes down below in regards to body image if you want to go on that journey. But I also, of course, I talk about it in the book. Someone said, I want to lose weight, but I have an ED and every time I put rules on it, it returns. Yeah, because you can't do two things at once. And that's the truth of the matter that I had to come to a big realization on. I had to let go of this desire of wanting to lose weight so that I can heal my relationship with food. And when I actually healed my relationship with food, my body rebalanced itself and I had to trust that I was going to get it. But I could not simultaneously diet while healing my relationship with food. It's impossible to do that. And I know it's hard because you don't want to let go of this goal that you have for yourself. But I think you need to look at it like this. First, let's address the ED because the ED is the most important thing, right? Because the ED is getting in the way of everything. I would suggest you take however long you need to really dive in as to why you have this and how to heal that, okay? The emotional side. Do that for yourself. But in that same coin, this does not mean that you can't move your body, that you can't take care of yourself through nutritional foods. This doesn't mean that you have to Okay, I'm just going to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. You will find when you address the emotional side, what tends to happen is you don't need the food rules. You just eat better in general. It's like a normal thing. You don't have to tell yourself, you don't have to be motivated to eat better and move your body. And when you start to heal and you do these things as a normal, natural thing, what happens usually is your body ends up balancing out. My body ended up balancing out. I got so consistent with eating well and moving my body from this place of it's just a normal, natural thing that I did not need to bust my ass in the gym or count my calories to get the body that I have now, which is crazy because that's what I used to do. I used to be so strict with my workouts, so strict with my counting calories, diets every single day, hyper obsessing over food. I do none of that now. All I do is I'm consistent at the gym. I don't get in my own way. When I go to the gym and I come home, I don't continue to think about the gym. I'm on to the next thing. I eat the food that I know is great for me. I enjoy that food and I move on. I'm not consumed by it. And I do that consistently, which has allowed me to have the body that I have now. I've gotten out of my own way. But in order to get out of your own way, it's really important that you address that emotional side. Doesn't mean that you can't have a great body, doesn't mean that you can't go on this pursuit of goals, but it's just the way that you go about these things needs to be from a place of self-love and healing and understanding of why you got there in the first place and how can I aid myself in a healthier lifestyle, but not from this place of I need to, or I'm not worthy, or oh my God, my whole entire worth is residing on the fact that I must have this picture perfect body. You don't have to be perfect. Someone said, how to not feel guilty about eating unhealthy food to maintain your already good body. I think this really goes back to the stories that you tell yourself. Like, you're always telling yourself a story about what you just did. If you're telling yourself this is the worst thing ever, I'm gaining weight just by eating this thing, it's ruining all my progress, you're going to end up going into a spiral, even to the point where you're just going to binge because you're going to say, oh my God, I ruined everything and start on Monday. Now, the stories that I tell myself when I'm eating something quote unquote not good is, first of all, this thing that I know doesn't have as much nutritional value is just that. It just doesn't have as many nutritional value things. And I'm deciding to eat this because I'm craving it. It's fine. This is not something that I eat every day, so it's not going to impact anything. It's literally not going to impact anything. I'm going to be fine. I also know if I continue to hyper obsess and focus on this, then my body is going to go into this fight or flight. I'm going to start releasing cortisol, adrenaline. My hormones are going to be out of whack, which will actually make my body hold on to more fat than needed. Although I don't even need to tell myself that because I kind of already know, but that's like a thing that our bodies will do too. And the most important thing that I can do in this moment is enjoy it and move on. You have to move on. The reason why we don't get a lot of progress and hit goals in our lives is because we do not move on from what it is that happened over here. And I don't mean to ignore what you just did, because obviously we want to be aware of why we do certain behaviors. But let's say you've kind of like healed your relationship with food for the most part, and like maybe you're not necessarily on this huge pursuit. Okay, you ate something, move on. Okay, you went out with your friends, move on. Someone said, how do I get into the habit of eating healthy? Baby steps. Baby steps are the thing that has helped me be consistent with everything and anything and make it a habit. When you want to make something a habit, essentially the goal is to have it be a lifetime thing. Obviously, things ebb and flow, life ebbs and flows. But you need to start small. And I can bring this back to when I realized I wanted to start eating more in the mornings because it's just good for me. I knew that I wasn't going to have this goal of I'm going to eat this huge like high protein meal and like be fueled for hours. And like, that's what I need to do when I wasn't eating anything at all. I had to start small. I had to tell myself, okay, you know what? At least just eat one piece of toast with an egg on it. And who knows, maybe you're not even gonna be able to eat that whole thing, but you're gonna just try that. Instead of telling myself, I need to eat 2 pieces of toast with 4 pieces of turkey bacon and 1 egg on each one, which would be a more nourishing meal and something that I would actually love to get to. But I knew because I didn't have that habit of eating anything, I'm not gonna tell myself to do that, because when I wake up in the morning and I already don't have an appetite, I'm not gonna wanna eat it because I'm telling myself I have to eat this huge meal, right? So start small with anything, even when it comes to working out at the gym. Okay, I haven't been to the gym in forever. I'm not going to tell myself to go 5 days out of the week. Girl, you haven't even gone once. And I'm also not going to tell myself to do the hardest workout ever the way that I used to when I used to like work out back in college. I'm going to tell myself, just get to the gym. Just do a little bit of a treadmill workout, grab a good playlist, get a cute like set on, and like, let's go to the gym. Let's make this an identity switch. Okay. I think that's all the questions that I'm going to answer. I hope you got something valuable out of this episode. I know it was so long, but it was needed. And I really hope that you guys enjoy the book. If you pre-order it, you'll hear me talk about it more. And of course, I will have a physical copy. I'll probably have it somewhere sitting on here because that was like the whole goal of this whole entire studio. But all the details to pre-order, again, will be down below. And I really appreciate all of the support that you guys have given me throughout the past 2 years. I was actually just thinking you guys were reposting all of your Spotify Wrapped podcast like top playlists or like top podcasts that you guys have been listening to all year, and a lot of you guys have been listening to me. A lot of you guys have been listening to me for years, like the whole entire time, and I think that's crazy to think that you guys have been with me this entire time, and we're going into a new year all together now with a new book. I am just so grateful for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy the book when you get it, which we'll talk more about. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.